Hey everyone, today we're going to be talking about Marilyn Manson's new album, The Pale Emperor. The album starts off pretty strong with Killing Strangers, which features a nice bluesy swing feel to it. From the minute the album starts, you can tell that the guitar work feels a lot stronger. This is probably in large part to the new guitarist Bates. And overall, the song just features this really weird, interesting strain to Manson's voice that I've never really heard quite like this before. And then next we move on to Deep Six, the lead single from the album. The song is very nice and heavy, very catchy. It's also his highest peaking single on the Billboard's mainstream rock track since Personal Jesus in 2004. So I think that's pretty interesting. I definitely think it was a good choice for a first single. In my opinion, I don't hear many singles on this album. I know Third Day of a 7-Day Binge was also released, and that was a pretty good choice. It's one of my favorite songs in the album as well, but Deep Six was probably definitely the only real way to go, and it was a good choice. It's a great song, and it's doing really well. Now, on to Third Day of a 7-Day Binge. So something cool about this song, to me at least, is that I feel like it would not be out of place on a Twin Peaks soundtrack. It just really fits that tone really well. It's dark, it's brooding, and it makes me want to do the twist at the same time. So definitely something I could see featured on Mr. Lynch's Twin Peaks. I can almost see Sarah Palmer dancing to that, which is neither here nor there. It's a really good song. Has a great feel to it, continues that whole blues vibe of the album, and really continues this great start to this album. It's a good run of songs in the beginning. The Mistopheles of Los Angeles, which I'll pronounce it like that because that's the way the rhyme works and the way he sings it, in my opinion, feature probably the best lyrics on the album. There's just a lot of that clever wordplay that Mr. Manson's so famous for. It's really well written and features that classic Manson swing. Again, there's a lot of swing on this album, and it really works for me. It really gives a nice cohesive feel to the whole album. But again, the Mistopheles of Los Angeles continues that strong run of songs to start the album. Now, I'll just say here that recent Manson albums have seemed kind of lazy with lyrical content. He repeats a lot of phrases in the last couple albums, just over and over again. And while they may be clever phrases or well-written lines, it just seemed kind of lazy because he just kept repeating the same things over and over again in a song, instead of a continuous flow of ideas or whatever. Now, this album features a lot of repeated passages in the lyrics, but somehow it just works a lot more in this one. It feels like it serves the structure of the song as opposed to just being lazy writing. And next we have Worship My Wreck, which I love the title, but while it's not a bad song per se, it just kind of slows down the album and is the first speed bump, I think, during the progression of the songs, and it's just kind of slow and kind of boring, and I wish something stronger would have come after Mistopheles, but it's not a bad song, it's just not great. Next we have Slave Only Wants to Be King. It's another heavy swing style Manson tune. Now, something interesting about the whole Manson swing thing is that I've actually heard people complain about him using that swing feel to a lot of his songs, because a lot of people I've heard claim that he's just trying to recreate Beautiful People, have lightning strike twice or whatever. Now, what people just don't understand is that since his very first album, he's been doing swingy kind of songs. Dope Hat on Portrait of an American Family featured the same kind of feel. It's just something that he likes to do, and I think he does really well. And I always think it's really unfair for people to try to just compare everything that has a swing to it to the Beautiful People. I mean, he's been doing that since the beginning of his career. But anyway, Slave Only Wants to Be King is another really good heavy song that continues that whole swingy feel to the album and just provides a nice good dose of heavy, which there's not a lot of like really, really heavy songs on the album, but when it gets heavy, it's really good. It definitely doesn't get as heavy as the last album, Born Villain, did, but it's not as, oh, what's the opposite of heavy? Light? I don't. It's not as not heavy as, say, the high end of Low or Eat Me, Drink Me. So just in general, overall, the whole album feels to be a lot more dance-worthy than past Manson albums. I'm constantly wanting to move my feet around and actually dance. It's really weird to me. Not to say that Manson songs have never made me want to dance. It's just I've never felt so compelled to move my body in such a way to Manson songs. Because the next song, The Devil Beneath My Feet, makes me really want to do the twist, even more so than Third Day. You just got to listen to it, and I defy you to not want to start shaking your body around. It's really cool, and it's just really cool. Now immediately when The Birds of Hell Awaiting starts, it sounds almost exactly like Dope Show to me. Just the bass line is very similar, the tempo, the whole feel of the song is very similar, and overall, the album has a lot of similarities to the album Mechanical Animals. I just keep drawing comparisons between the two. They're definitely kindred spirits in my mind. But Birds of Hell Awaiting is definitely, in my opinion, the weakest point on the album. It's extremely, extremely repetitive and just doesn't really take off into anywhere interesting. It's just, again, just kind of plods along and kind of just seems like filler to me. Next we have Cupid Carries a Gun, which is a pretty standard Manson tune. Again, it has that feel of a Mechanical Animal song to me, which isn't a bad thing, just something I noticed. Now, again, it's not a bad song, it's just not terribly interesting, just didn't keep my interest that much. I love the acoustic work on it, the instrumentation, the beat. I think the chorus is very strong, but overall, I don't think it's very interesting as a song, and it's definitely a step up from the last couple songs on the album, but nothing really special. And then we have the closer, Odds of Even. It is a great fitting close to the album. It's very bluesy with a slow, deliberate tempo that just kind of ties the whole album together. It just makes the whole album feel like one big journey. It makes it feel very cohesive. One of the cool things about this song is that it features a great guitar solo in the middle of the song, which is such a breath of fresh air because the last album that heavily featured leads, which this one doesn't, but the last album that did was Eat Me, Drink Me, and it just did not work for me. Overall, Eat Me, Drink Me is my least favorite Manson album. I think it's his weakest, but those solos just drug on and on and on and just were boring and out of place. But on Odds of Even, it's perfect. Nice bluesy lead, just fits into the whole song and is really great. Again, I'm assuming probably thanks to the new guitarist Bates. And then the coolest part of the song for me is at the very end of the tune, Odds of Even, just takes me back to the glory days of Hollywood. I almost feel like it's a track that got left off of Hollywood. I mean, I know it wasn't, but it just really has that classic Manson feel and just takes me back to a better era. And I can't stress enough how strong of a closure I think this is. I'm really glad that the first and last song were just so great because at least, it starts off with a good impression and it leaves you with a great impression. So, overall, I think The Pale Emperor is a very good album. Not great, but certainly, in my opinion, the best Manson album in years. I think it's his most cohesive album since Hollywood, probably, and should definitely please longtime Manson fans, if not able to ensnare new coming listeners. And like I said, it starts off with a very high note, kind of descends into mediocrity in the middle, but then, bam, just shoots off in the end with just a great, solid finish. So overall, my final verdict, I would have to say that I give the album 3 Jesuses out of 5. Pretty good album, not the greatest, but it gives me hope for whatever artistic endeavor Mr. Manson delves into next, and I can't wait for the next album. All right, guys, that's all I've got. Thanks for watching. Catch you next time.